Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Lesson Non-Classics. This episode number 1667 and Doubleshot number 1561. Now I have pretty much two DC trades. Before I discuss them, I forgot to get my final thoughts on Brightest Day in the last video. My final thoughts on the series. It's a good series. Check it out. It is really, really good. It basically explores like a lot of the stuff that's explored and a lot of the stuff that happened right after the events of Blackest Night. It's definitely a good event to check out, and it had tons of tie-ins, but it's well worth checking out this book because if it hadn't been for this book, we wouldn't have Aquaman, Fury of Firestorm, Hawk and Dove, DC Universe. This book basically kind of set those series up, and also the Swamp Thing ongoing series. Yep. Alright, now let's talk about the second, and now this is going to be my last trade to discuss for Batman Eternal, because I've already discussed book 3 5 years ago. Yep, 5 years ago, when I was living in my old house. That was the last time I discussed this one. Now, this book only collects 22 to 34. Now, the thing starts off with basically Batman taking on the Architect. He fights them over the course of a couple issues and stops his plan, and then the Architect gets away. And here's the strange thing, though. That's the last you see of the Architect. Because he is never seen again after that. He's not seen for the rest of the series. It's like he's doing here because basically Scott Snyder really loved his work for the work he did for Gates of Gotham, which is an awesome miniseries. I do recommend checking the damn thing out. It is so freaking good. And here's the thing, though. I think bringing this guy in, I think it's implied that miniseries is canon. And, of course, Scott Snyder would definitely confirm it's canon because he wrote it. Yep. And also, there's... Yeah, that's basically... You also have with Hush. Yeah, Hush becomes a plot thread. And Julia Pennyworth herself becomes Penny 2. We get more explored with her in this particular series. Excuse me. And unlike the first one, which had one bad issue, we also have Catwoman confronting her father. And really the whole point of Catwoman confronting her father, who was basically the crime boss known as the Lion, that sets up a run in the pages of Catwoman. And a really good run by Giovanni Valentine. That lasts for pretty much a whole year. Yep. That lasts for an entire year. And this book also sets up the issues here also sets up Arkham Manor, a short-lived Batman ongoing series that got canceled after only 6 issues and a one-shot. The reason I heard that series ended, despite it being really good, it's written by the awesome Gary Duggan. The reason why the series ended, because the writer, it was announced that he, at the time, he has signed an exclusive contract with Marvel. And that's the reason why they ended the book. Now you're thinking, really? That's why they ended the ongoing series, because the writer signed an exclusive contract to work for one company, Marvel. And given the work he's done for them for the past decade, I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't he? His books have been good. Books like Deadpool, All New Guardians of the Galaxy. His current work for X-Men, Marauders, Savage Avengers. Need I go on? Because Gary Duggan, in my opinion, is one of Marvel's best writers right now. And currently one of their big name writers. And they probably don't want him to go anytime soon. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, briefly, Clue Master getting arrested, but don't worry, he does come back. Hush becomes a plot thread throughout a small majority of issues collecting this trade here, before he's finally captured by freaking Batman and put into a cage, which he stays there even in the Arkham Manor series. And the reason why You see, in the book, if I remember from it, Arkham Asylum is set up in Wayne Manor. The reason why it was put there was because stuff happened in this very series. Though eventually Bruce Wayne did get back his house. It was during toward the end of Scott Snyder's run. It was happened. I believe it was in the 4th annual. He actually got back his house after basically stuff related to Endgame. That's the reason why he got his house back. And his company was basically being seized by the federal government because of stuff related to the main villain of the series. It's not. There's hints at this whole thing here, but this book itself is just really, really good. And I'm gonna get this a 10 out of 10. My final thoughts on Batman Eternal, because of the fact I finally have finished reviewing this series, it's a great series. It only had one bad issue out of 52. Now, the one plot thread that, in my opinion, ran a little too long was Jim Gordon being in jail. That lasted for too long. It lasted for almost this entire series. Yes. And the thing is, Batman had the evidence to clear him. But Jason Barber was working with Hush. Yep. Oh, and by the end of the series, he steps down as commissioner and hands off to Maggie Sawyer, who has it for the next 2 years. She actually steps down as the commissioner at the end of Scott Snyder's run for Batman and hands it back to Jim Gordon. If you wonder who the commissioner is currently, I think it's Renee Montoya currently in the comics right now. At one point was Harvey Bullock. He was the commissioner of the GCPD. Yes. In the case of Jason Barton himself, after this series wrapped up, he didn't do very much after this series wrapped up. I mean, the next time I remember him popping up was actually pages of Batgirl. Yes. Because they're related to this series. Now, what about Thomas Elliot, a.k.a. Hush? Now, it's implied now because, oh yeah, it's clearly Hush. Yes, any Batman fan can tell this character here is Hush, a.k.a. Thomas Elliot. Now, he's a Jeff Loeb character. Yes, he's been around since 2003. And Batman readers know who this guy is. He's not some original character that of the era of New 52. He's a creation of Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. My guess is the reason why Scott Snyder introduced him in this particular series because thanks to this very series, we got a lot of post-Flash appearances of a lot of characters. Hush is one of them, along with the Architect, who was a character Scott Snyder himself created. And I think it's the only character he created pre-Flashpoint to show up here. Now, they also had Sonia Brunch show up in one of the books. She showed up pages of Nightwing of all places. Yes, except that she may be a Scott Snyder character, but it was Kyle Higgins who brought her in. Of course, this book brought back Stephanie Brown, a character who, from what I heard at the time, prior to this book coming out, people begged DC, begged them to bring back this character. And they did. And she still played a vital role in the DC Universe to this very day. After this series wrapped up, guess where she ended up? Catwoman. And after Giovanni Valentine wrapped up her run, she got dropped up at Batgirl for a few issues. And then thanks to Rebirth, she basically became became a supporting character in Detective Comics when they had the Gotham Knights program in that series. When the book was written by James Tim IV, with of course Red Robin, who appeared in this series, and Batman and Robin Eternal, which Stephanie showed up there too. Of course, that one brought in Cassandra Cain and David Cain. This one basically brought not only those characters. Well, this one, basically these following characters, thanks to this weekly series, brought in Hush, Clue Master, Spoiler, Deacon Blackfire, Maxie Zeus. I'm trying to think, who else was it? Let's see. I don't know. Pistol Pig, I think he showed up in the Wonder Woman book prior to this one. I think he did. Oh yeah, Vicky Vale. Yeah, thanks to this book, they brought her in. We also had don't think Tiger Shark first appeared here. I don't think he did. No, it was actually Page of Batgirl. And Batgirl Batman. Yeah, but I love the fact they brought back these characters. In case you're curious, but Deacon Blackfire, prior to him show up in this book, his only appearance was actually in the miniseries Batman the Cult, where he appears in just the 4-issue miniseries. He pops up in Blackest Night Batman as a zombie because he got killed off in the miniseries. And then he popped up here where he got freaking killed off by the Spectre. And then he was brought back, I think, in James Tynion's run. And that's basically been it for Deacon Backflyer. Maxie Zeus, I don't think he's done much of anything. Oh, I almost forgot. Joker's daughter, a character whose continuity is so freaking confusing. Because at the end of the series, she supposedly runs to the Joker. And it's never followed up with. No, seriously. DC does nothing with this. Her account of the Joker, because it's implied that he may have killed her at the end of the series. May have. But it doesn't go anywhere. Because he shows up with his old face in the pages of Endgame. And she later shows up in the pages of Robin, I think it was Red Hood / Arsenal. Where she was a support character in that series. And after the series wrapped up, she popped up in Nightwing. And I think that's been it for the character. Yes. Oh, I almost forgot. She did pop up also in the pages of Detective Comics. When Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato were writing their last 4 issues of the book. Why she was there, don't know. It felt as though her appearance in that book felt completely at random. It's like, oh, look, it's Joker's daughter. A character who, out of all the characters they basically had a redesign for, or at least this version of a character, she is by far to date the most hated character I have ever seen. The hatred for this character is like so powerful. People hate Joker's art. I don't like the character, but I don't have downright hatred for her, and I don't have the same feelings that. Now, as far as I can tell, and the Senti herself, I have not heard anything if she's received any flack from readers over this character. She may have. I have no idea. But this version of Dual Dent was her creation. The original one was the Silver Age, what was basically a character first show up in the Bronze Age. And it was, and the had nothing to do with that one at all. She's the one who chose the Joker's daughter who actually had her own one-shot. Yep. But yes, Batman Eternal, excellent series. And it's mostly put basically, it's kind of like stories probably would have been told over the course of several series. But I think Batman Eternal definitely was a good idea. And its sequel, which had been hinted for a couple of years, actually was like a year, and then of course they finally did it in the pages in the book Batman and Robin Eternal, which surprisingly wasn't as long as this one was. This was 52 issues, plus of course sneak preview from Batman Volume 2 28. Batman and Robin Eternal was 26 issues. Excuse me, unlike this book, which was collected in 3 volumes, that was collected in only 2. But unlike this one, which had 5 or 6 plot threads going at the same time, Batman and Robin Eternal had like 2, maybe 3 at the same time. Plus, one of the best things about that book was to explore Dick Grayson's backstory in a more proper way, and then have him start when he was 16 as Robin, actually start with the appropriate age of 13. Alright, moving on to a different Batman book that does feature Catwoman, Gotham City Sirens. Yes, this book collects the first 13 out of 26 issues for the series. Yeah, this is basically Gotham City Sirens Book One. And here are your writers for all 13 issues. Paul Dini, who writes a good chunk of these issues, with Tony Bedard, Scott Lobdell, Mark Andrango, Gillian March, also one artist too. Ralph Fernandez, Andrea Seguillo, David Lopez, Alvaro Lopez, Peter Nugan, and Jack Purcell. The cover art here is done by Gillian March. Now, at the time this book was launched, it was probably for a lot of people considered to be just another Catwoman title, just featuring, well, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Now, one thing interesting about these issues is that it has the first appearance of Harley Quinn's family. Her parents, her brother, Barry Quinzel, and his children. Oh, by the way, when Jimmy Palmieri reintroduced these people in the current continuity, they gave Barry a redesign. For one thing, he's not a lazy bum. He actually has a rock band. He actually is married, and he actually is wearing makeup. Also, he's thin. Here, he's overweight, and apparently, despite the fact that Harley Quinn actually does something in her life, apparently her parents basically don't care. They don't care about the fact their beautiful daughter, Harley Quinn, is actually doing something with her life, while their only son, Barry, is a lazy bum. Yeah, they apparently don't freaking give a crap about that. Yes. Also, we also have something at the start of this series where Catwoman is drunk. They also have this whole thing with her with a heart surgery. That was something that was explored in the storyline Heart of Hush, which later led into the very first story arc of Batman Streets of Gotham. Catwoman had her heart removed, though it was returned to her body, and apparently she's not doing too well. So Poison Ivy decided to drug her and ask her one question. Who is Batman? And then she gives the obvious answer. Bruce Wayne, and she lists a bunch of people. And it doesn't go much anywhere at all. As far as I can tell, Poison Ivy does not go after Bruce Wayne at all in any of these issues per se. You can also kind of say for this series that it's also Harley Quinn's series because of Harley Quinn's spotlight in this series, because of how well she has written the series. Well, there's a reason why for that. Paul Dini, who co-created, writes this damn thing. Yes. But these issues are just pure fun. I love it. And unlike Harley Quinn, which said in a different universe, this one's canon. And it had one crossover throughout this entire run. Judgment Gotham. The opening issue of the series dealt with the aftermath of Batman's apparent death. And just basically did its own thing. And I thought it was quite weird, though, the fact that he had 26 issues, half a dozen writers for these issues. Do not know the reason for this at all. If I get a chance to meet Tony Bedard again, maybe he might have the answer for that. But this book is really good. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Just a damn good book. Yep. And I can't wait to get my hands on book 2 so I can basically finish the book up itself. Yep, so yeah, that's a particular review. Next one's going to be Case de Vanitos. Okay, next video. Bye.